Okay, in this video we're going to find some domains that we're interested in, and we're going to do a little bit of research on them just to check that they haven't been spammy in the past, or that adult websites haven't been on them, or that they don't have a lot of bad backlinks pointing to them, which could hurt any SEO chances that you're trying to build if you're going to build the site out. So we'll just start on expireddomains.net. If you haven't been on this site before, it's a site that brings in domains that have dropped, that have been deleted, that are being auctioned, that are being sold on classifieds. Brings them all into one place with lots of filters so that you can find the domains that work for you and purchase them or bid on them. So I thought for this example we'll go for a GoDaddy closeout, and I'm just going to put a couple of filters on just so we can filter out some of the poorer domains. So I'm just going to have it filter for .coms. I'm going to take out any numbers, hyphens, and I don't want any adult names on here. So I'll apply that filter. And then because we're checking the history of the domain, I don't want anything that's registered too recently because there won't necessarily be much information there. So I'm just going to order these by their registration date. And you can see we go back quite far. So I'm just going to, I haven't pre-prepared anything here, so prepare for me thinking out loud and awkward silences. So right, I'm going to copy that. First thing I'm going to do, go to a website called hosterstats.com. Now this gives you the DNS history, and as such gives you a bit of a registration history. So we'll just put that domain into here. These are the domain, the TLDs that it supports. You can see it doesn't support .io or .co at the moment. We're going for .com anyway, so I'm just going to search on that. So this is where you get the information here. So we can see registered in 2000 and literally nothing has changed since then. So that's not a great example. Let's go for this one. Okay, a little bit more information here. So we can see it was new in 2004. Now this only goes back to 2000. So it could have been registered before then and dropped for a few years. But as it stands at the moment, it was registered in 2004, which we can see here. The name servers have only swapped around twice in that whole time. And now it's going through the GoDaddy closeout. So domains go through a closeout when the owner hasn't renewed them. So this, let's check the history of this. It looks like it hasn't transferred around much, so this probably had a site on it. So how we'll check that, we'll go to the Internet Archive. There's a link below the video for all these pages that I'm visiting. Okay, so this has never been archived by the Wayback Machine, which indicates, if it's that old, that it's just never had a site on it. So let's go for another one. Let me scroll through here. Okay, College Books. Well, let's try this one. So back to Hosterstats. Okay, it's got a lot more history on it, so we can see, I don't know what epoch means in all honesty. I would assume that's just because this information started around 2000. This probably just fed in from then. And then you can see here, it's transferred. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in its lifetime. It's switched between different name servers. So that can indicate that it's been sold quite a lot, that it's changed hands quite a lot, or that the owner has just been evolving things, and maybe they started on a basic page builder, then they evolved to their own website, etc., etc. Now what you will see here sometimes is also deleted and new. So as you're going through the domains, if you see one that says deleted and then maybe 6 months later new, that means it's been dropped completely and then hand registered again. And you will see some domains that are deleted new, transferred, deleted new, transferred, and that carries on. And that's just a little sign that the people who are having it just keep dropping it and not renewing it. So it's worth thinking on, depending on your criteria, that people don't seem to be having much success with that domain. So that's something to think about as you're doing your research. So now what we'll go and do is check the website history of this, because it's had so many changes. This indicates to me that it's definitely had websites on it at some point. So we'll go back to the Wayback Machine and paste the new one in here. Okay, so we can see a bit of activity. So every black bar you see here is an archive of the domain. You can see recently there's been absolutely nothing going on with this domain, so it hasn't been active for at least the last 4 years. So we'll just have a look here. Anytime you see a little dot like this, this is where they've archived something. Now they're different colours, so if you look here, green indicates a redirect. So even this isn't a live site, this is redirecting somewhere. So let's go and have a look at that. Okay, so this is redirecting to textbooks, I guess you would say. So this should automatically take us there so that we can see what kind of site this is. Okay, this looks legit. And you can see here, look how many times this has been archived. And the bigger the bar, and this is getting archived every day, probably a few times a day. So this is quite a big site, quite an established site. So let's go back. I'm going to assume all of these little ones are redirects, but I'm just going to confirm it. So I will go for the 2013 one. Let's try 2014. Okay, so green again, so that indicates a redirect, so I think it's safe to say it's going to go the same place, but let's have a quick look. Yeah, back to textbooks. Okay. So then we have a big gap here to 2011. I would have thought this is the same. Yep, textbooks. Then we have this big gap here, so I just want to see what was going on in the early days of the website when it was first registered. So I'll tell you what, let's go and look at this 1999 version. So it's blue, so this indicates that it's a website or content itself. It's not a redirect. So let's have a look at this. Okay, so this was when the website was very first made, and it was its own little project. So that's good, nothing fishy there. I'm just going to check another date for the year after. Okay, same thing. Let's jump forward. Okay, so it's around that time that it starts getting redirected to textbooks. So it could be that the owner set up textbooks and then forwarded this domain to it. It could be that they sold this domain and maybe the website to someone else, and then they redirected it, maybe get some good traffic or had some good backlinks, something like that. So in terms of the content here and the history of what's been on it, I would be happy to buy this. No concerns there at all. Then the final thing I would check is just the backlink history. So you can go to a Ahrefs backlink checker. There's a link below the video, and we'll just put the domain in. And we can see here, so domain rating of 0, so that just means that it doesn't have any decent credible backlinks, which you wouldn't expect from a domain that's been redirected for so long, so that's not really a concern. It's got 109 backlinks from 3 different domains. So these are the domains here, and these are just auto-generated sort of sites. So they're not great backlinks, but they're not damaging. So this, again, looks fine to me. The kind of thing you're looking for here is if there's a lot of Chinese backlinks or there's a lot of spammy backlinks, you'll recognise them. They'll just be from sort of celebrity gossip sites or just content farm sites really that you'll get there, or they'll just be gibberish. So this domain looks absolutely fine to me, and I think we should just quickly go and do one more. So let's see. Sports hobby, that's nice. Let's give this one a go. So straight back over to Hostastats, and I'll just fire through this one. So hopefully I've explained everything so far. So we can see that it's an old domain from here, so registered in 99. So then this has picked up the data in 2000, and it's only changed name servers a handful of times. So let's go and see what that's about. Okay, sometimes it won't do it with the HTTP, I don't know why, so I'll just try it without. Here we go. Click here to search for all archived pages. Okay, yeah, it doesn't have anything. It says the robots.txt file. So let's try one more. Okay, you can see very little history there. The name servers were changed once, so let's see if that's because it's been a site the whole time or just never used. Okay, so no use for a long time. So you see orange here means URL wasn't found. So let's just skip back to one of these spikes. Okay, so you can see the bigger the circle, the more it's grabbed on that particular day. So I'm just going to go for this one. Okay, so just a very basic website, nothing spammy about this at all. It's a UK company that used to have it. Let's check another one of these. Okay, so up to 2007 it was this website, 2008, 2009, 2011. We've got a few years gap here, so I'm not sure what's going to be on this next one. Okay, and then it's obviously they haven't paid their hosting or it's been dropped. But looking at this, so there was a change in 2001. So no, it's the same company. This company had it all the way through, and their circumstances have changed here. So again, up to now, that's a domain that I would be fine with in terms of its history. And then we'll just go and check the backlinks on it just to be sure there's nothing too crazy. Okay, so you can see we've got a domain rating of 0, which for a small business isn't really surprising. They're probably not pushing for the SEO, especially back then. We saw how old the site was. There's 50 backlinks from 15 domains. And what we've got here is a few directory sites. So maybe at some point they paid someone to do a bit of SEO and they just submitted it to a few directory sites. But there's nothing here that's damaging. So again, that would be classed as a nice clean domain, and if I was interested in that domain, I would know that I could safely buy it without any history coming to bite me. So yeah, that's how you would check the history of a domain. Any questions, you can contact me on Twitter @LeanneMac, and I'll be happy to help.